Now that we've implemented a basic grid using the Angular Material Grid List, let's improve it by configuring our gutters. By default, these tiles have a gutter at 1 pixels. We'll increase it to 5 pixels. And the grid list gives us a property to do that. And then we'll also look into adding a header to each one of our tiles. And the Angular Material Grid List also gives us an element that will help us with that as well. Then towards the end of the video, we'll move this content, our buttons, up to our tiles and remove this background color. Let's dive into the documentation and then select the grid list component. On the right, look for the setting the gutter size. We'll start in there. And then here is a property we want to use, the gutter size within this documentation here. And we'll use the gutter size, and by default it's set to 1 pixels. We'll just increase that to 5 pixels. And then after we do that, look for the link, the tile header and footers on the right here. And here are a couple elements we could add within our grid list. We could use a tile header, this one here, and that's the one we'll be using. And also you could use a tile footer. We won't use that in this example, but that is available. But first we'll start off with the gutter size, and we'll add the gutter size property to our grid. Inside of the dashboard component within the Mat Grid List element we created in the last video, I'll add in the gutter size and set that to 5 pixels. Now if you're using pixels, you could leave off the px. For example, if I leave off the unit like that and just enter in a plain number, the unit pixels will automatically be selected. Next, we'll add in our header within the Mat Grid tile, and I'll add that at the top here. So it's the Mat Grid tile header, and I called it button colors. This is where we'll add in our button colors, different colors. We'll add that within here. We'll replace this one pretty soon with the content, but let's see it without the buttons first, and I'll put this on a new line. Now we want to add this Mat Grid tile header to each one of our grid tiles, so I'll replace this with a snippet. So tile 2 is going to have our basic buttons, and then tile 3 is going to have our button types, our different types, and then tile 4 will have our button others, any other type of buttons. Before we add in our content and remove our background color, let's see what this is looking like within the browser. This is coming along. We now have a 5 pixel gutter between all of our tiles. And then also we have these headers. Now I think we're finally ready to start moving some content into our tiles. We'll start off with the button colors. We'll move this into tile 1. Also, I think we can increase the height a little bit more for each of these tiles, and then also remove this light blue background color as well. Let's start off by increasing our height from 150 pixels to 180 pixels. That means now that tile 1 and tile 2 should be 180 pixels high. And then tile 3 and tile 4, since the row span is set to 2, should be double that. So each of these tiles should be 360 pixels high. Next, within each one of our Mat Grid tiles, I'm going to create a container, and I'll replace the number with a div tag. And I'll add a div tag inside of each of our tiles. And now we can add our content within these divs. This is for our button colors. I'll leave out the paragraph since we already have a header for our grid, and I'll just copy the buttons. I'll add that up here. And next we want to do our basic buttons. We'll grab that from our basic buttons. I'll copy these 3 here and add that within this div here. Then next is the button types. And that is the flat, stroked, and raised. I was thinking just add those 3 in there. Copy that, and then add that within this div. And then our last one is button other. And then I'll use the custom theme builder and the toggle button component. I'll copy both of these. And we could update these H4s to paragraphs so they match the next tile. And I'll add that within this div here. And then replace the H4 with a P tag. And do the same thing for the next one here. Now we don't need this content down here anymore. We could just remove all of this. And just clean it up here. And this is what you want your content to look like. Keep in mind, you could always find this on the repo if you don't want to create all this manually. And that is what our content will look like when we're done. Next, we need to update our style sheet. And all we need to do here is remove this background blue color. We don't need that anymore. That was just added for testing. And now we're ready to view it in the browser. This looks really good. Now all of our buttons are within the tiles. We have a nice header for each of our tile. And we gave some spacing between our tiles as well. Now let's improve on this even further. So if you decrease the screen width, so if I use this and I start decreasing, you notice everything starts falling apart. Well, we could use the CDK, the Angular Materials CDK layout to help us with our responsive design. So for example, if we are on screen sizes, we could have each of our tiles take the whole width of the screen. Let's see how we could do that in the next video.